I've been wanting to talk about this lens forever. I'm actually shooting on it right now. Now listen, when it comes to spending a lot of money on your lenses, and if you're starting out, the lens is probably gonna cost more than your camera, let's be honest. I get a really icky feeling about that, because I don't like spending a lot of money, and I'm also a very indecisive person. So when I saw that there's a lens that has a really long zoom range, an aperture of f2.8, and it has image stabilization, aka vibration control, I was like, oh, sign me up. If you were to buy just one lens for your APS-C camera, I think it should be this one. The Tamron 17-70mm f2.8 VC, or vibration control. This baby has got it all. This is not a super technical review evaluating sharpness and like all of that at every aperture and every focal length. This is more of a, do I or should I get this if I want to make content of all kinds without having to switch lenses every 5 minutes because I have to. That's that kind of review. So what's so great about this lens? Well, let me tell you what's so great about it. Does it shoot landscapes? Yes. Can you vlog with it? Yes. Does it shoot portraits? Yes. Can you use it at a normal focal length, like 35mm, for example? Absolutely. Does it perform well in low light? Better than most. Does it have image stabilization? Because odds are your APS-C camera does not. Yes, it does. That's it. Go buy it. Thank you for watching. See you next time. No, I'm kidding. Stick around. So what makes this lens so dope? Well, it's actually all in the name. 17-70 f2.8 vibration control. First thing, let's talk about the focal range. Now, if you want to get started on shooting architecture or landscapes or just ultra wide shots, this is the full frame equivalent of around 25mm. Now suppose you're coming from film cameras and you're used to, let's say, 28 to 50. This lens has got you covered. You can use it at a normal focal length too. The super wide angle is also great for filming yourself too, because you can point it at yourself. Yeah, she's a little chunky, but it's still pretty good. The longest this lens goes is at 70mm or at 105 full frame equivalent. And this is great for portraits because it allows for just the right amount of lens compression to flatter the face, and at f2.8 it separates you from the background and gives you that really nice blurry background that we all love when we're taking portraits. I recently took this lens on a trip to Berlin, and I took a bunch of portraits of myself and my friend, and I also took it out when we went for a little fall hike here in Toronto, and the images it produces are just so nice. Another thing that's really cool about this thing is that it supports autofocus natively. So A, you don't need an adapter, which is really cool. And if you use a Sony camera, you can use Sony's amazing autofocus, which is pretty dope. The performance of the autofocus is about 95% what it was on native Sony lenses that I've owned. I find at low light, it starts to hunt a little bit and it becomes a little bit indecisive when it comes to what to lock on or when to lock on, but most of the time it worked perfectly fine. And this is pretty handy if you're starting out and you don't want to be focus pulling and composing at the same time. Another reason this lens is actually much better than a bunch of other lenses in its same category is the fact that it has vibration control. Now, if you're using a chunky cinema camera or a large film camera or just a bigger, heavier body, you don't have to worry about camera shake. But if you're using an APS-C sensor or crop sensor camera with a small body, then all of these micro jitters in your hand are going to be visible in both your photos and your videos, and that's going to suck. The only way to combat that when you're taking photos is to raise your shutter speed really high to kind of freeze the motion, but that compromises how much you can shoot in low light. And when you're shooting video, there's really no fix. You can do warp stabilizer in post, but that's never any good. That sucks. You always want to have it built in. I used to shoot on a Sony a6300, which didn't have in-body image stabilization. And that really sucked because it kind of eliminated like 70% of the lenses that I could buy. So if you're a Sony user and you have any of the A5000 series or any of the A6000 series except 65 and 6600, you don't have in-body image stabilization and you need your lens to be stabilized. This lens has that. Another really cool feature in this lens that isn't mentioned in the advertising materials is that it's kind of almost a macro lens. You can get pretty close to your subject at 70mm and you can get these almost macro-like shots that show really cool textures or really shallow depth of field in a really small area in focus. Tamron sells like a 2x converter that makes it even more of a macro lens, but even without the adapter, that is around $300, this is still a pretty cool feature. I like that now this lens is super wide, normal, and long, but also macro, all in one lens. This is so cool. When it comes to buying camera gear, especially when you're starting out, one thing I value a lot is versatility and usability. This lens, for me, for now, has it all. I don't really feel the need to carry around other lenses. I mean, I have some other lenses, but I find I'm using them less and less. I love that I can shoot an entire short film on this lens because I can shoot a master shot, a medium shot, and a close-up, and an extreme close-up all in one lens. This is pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't replace cinema lenses, but for budget filmmaking, why not? If you want more technical information about this lens or about any other gear, you can let me know in the comments and I'll talk about it more. But there's also plenty of videos on YouTube that are already talking about this in great length. I don't know if I want to do more gear reviews on this channel or talk about more about the equipment that I use, because I kind of want to focus on the filmmaking, not the film gear aspect of cinema. But if that's something that you folks like, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to make those videos. Also, if you have any other questions about this lens, let me know and I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, please. And until next time, stay creative.